Welcome back to another episode of Domestic Dad, Cleaning Up the Mess. My guest today is Christopher Timms, a devoted husband, father, educator, head coach, and minister. He's walked through the fire of addiction and come out the other side stronger. In this episode, Christopher opens up about his personal struggles with alcoholism, how it impacted his family and career, and most importantly, how he found redemption through faith and commitment to sobriety. Christopher's story is one of resilience, transformation, and the power of leaning on God and community for support. Whether you're on your own journey to healing or just looking for some inspiration, this conversation will leave you feeling hopeful and empowered. He talks about how he was inspired at a young age by positive coaches, teachers, and pastors. And that just goes to show us how important it is to speak life into our children. Because at some point, they're going to need those seeds that were planted along the way to come to fruition and help them grow. So grab them up, because today we're cleaning up the mess.
Has life gotten off track? Are you looking for some inspiration to be a better dad? People say all the time, I'd die for my kids. Okay. But would you live for them? Actually live? Get yourself healthy? Make better choices? Eliminate distractions? Would you lead them more intentionally? Would you get sober? Take better care of yourself, physically and mentally. You'd only have to die once. Your kids don't need you to die for them. They need you to live. Have you thought about getting sober, but you just didn't know where to start? If so, welcome to the Domestic Dad Podcast, your go-to destination for candid discussions on journeys into sobriety, parenting, and personal growth. I'm Nick Barnett, founder of the Domestic Dad Project. I've been a dad since I was 18 years old. I'm also a trauma survivor, an alcoholic, divorced, happily remarried, hardworking, humbled by life, domestic dad. On this podcast, you'll find interviews with people who have walked that path, including myself, coaches, mentors, and pastors who can help guide you on your journey. You're going to need resources and inspiration. You can find that here. This is the community for you to lean into, so you can start living life as a domestic dad. So let's grab a mop and start cleaning up the mess. All right, so Christopher Timms, Coach Christopher Timms. What's up?
Man, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, thank you for joining me on Domestic Dad Cleaning Up the Mess.
Man, thank you for the opportunity. No, I'm excited, man, pumped up. Truly just honored and blessed to have the opportunity to connect with you and be able to tell my story, man.
Yeah.
Thank God for the opportunity and opening up the door.
Right on. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start this just the way I start all of them, which is tell me what childhood was like for you.
Childhood was good. Being an identical twin, shout out to Charles. Being an identical twin, man, there was never a dull moment because regardless if I had made friends or not, I always had a best friend at home. We're the same grade, typically, and especially in elementary, we're in the same classes. And so that made growing up really interesting, having that constant presence. And so Charles was my best friend growing up. We had a lot of adventures. My great granny Dorothy helped take care of us when we were younger while my mom and dad worked. And man, we were just a terror over there. Like we dug holes 3 foot deep. I remember I lit this stuffed bunny on fire in the house.
Oh, no.
She smoked cigarettes, left the lighter on the table. I'm little, man. I grabbed it, lit it on fire. I told Charles, once it became an issue that we no longer could manage, I'm like, Charles, spit on it. He's hawking up loogies on the fire, man. And I just remember Granny Dorothy coming over, saying some words that I won't say on here, but picking it up with her bare hands, man, taking it to the kitchen. And she came back with a broom, but it wasn't to clean up no mess. It was to clean up me and Charles. And so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you had one of those, huh?
Childhood was fun, man. My parents were great. Lloyd and Kim took care of my brother and I, worked hard, gave us opportunities, got us involved in sports, pushed academics hard in the household. So being an average student wasn't something that was going to be tolerated in the house. It was, you're going to go to school and do your best. I remember just being taught that when you started something, you finished. And so dad was pretty strict. I would definitely say he was a disciplinarian.
Yeah.
Very, very authoritarian, especially when we were younger in those years. And he's kind of relaxed as we've aged and gotten older. I always like to tell people when I talk about my dad that we kind of grew up together. So who my dad was when we were younger isn't who my dad is today. But I'm not the same either. Neither is Charles. And it's been beautiful to see the growth of all three of us.
Man, I can say because my oldest is 21.
Yeah.
I was 18, 19 when he came into existence. And that, I got to be honest with you, man, I would share the sentiment that we grew up together. Because as a first-time parent, were you guys the first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, as a first-time parent, you have no idea what you're doing and you learn as you go.
Absolutely.
You know, so yeah, I think there were some authoritative moments for me. And I think I got those from my dad because I was his first. You know what I mean? You kind of do things a certain way and then you learn and you say, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Or maybe there was some regret, or maybe there was some stuff that we had to go back and rework the game plan on.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yep.
So
learning the lessons, man.
Yeah. So so two things. One, you're an identical twin. It trips me out sitting here talking to you because I've known your brother for years and me and you have just recently met.
Right.
So it's one of those things where I'm just I'm sitting here, I'm like, is that Charles or is Charles tricking me? You know? No, but
yeah, Chris and Charles.
yeah. You guys could really pass for each other if you didn't have different haircuts. So
absolutely right, man. But the cauliflower ear gives us away too.
Yeah.
We have it on opposite sides. So if you really know us, people know to look for that.
Yeah. And then you touched on being an athlete. I mean, you were both collegiate athletes, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Talk to me about how that came to be. Talk to me about, kind of getting into your teens, being a student athlete. What was that like?
Being a student athlete was fun. We got into wrestling pretty early. Wasn't as committed as we would be going into high school, but started wrestling with the junior Trojans program. Kirk Salas, Wendell Love, Punchy Salas were some of the guys that were coming and pouring life in the kids. And these guys were doing this stuff for free. They weren't getting paid. So they're giving up weekdays and weekends to pour into other people's kids. They had kids of their own who were also involved in the club as well, and wrestled in middle school, did pretty well, then was blessed to have Coach Willie Gatson transition to the lead role of the program when we transitioned to high school. And so our first year was his first year as head coach, and he just brought a different culture to Waterloo East. I mean, if you were not living right, you probably were not going to be suiting up on the mat because there were expectations about conduct, about practice, about commitment that you had to follow through if you were going to wrestle. And a lot of students at East, I mean, to be honest, a lot of kids had not been exposed to that kind of expectation before.
Right.
That bar, that standard had never been set that high before. A lot of athletes kind of called the shots, especially if they were extremely talented. Coaches didn't always hold them accountable to the best of their ability, but Coach Gatson was. So those first few years, man, we were putting 2 or 3 guys on the varsity lineup. And I remember I was on JV, and we had, there's 14 spots in the varsity lineup. I'm like, man, Coach, you got 10 spots out there. You only got 2 guys, and you got me and Charles wrestling JV. Little did I know, he was forming us, man, getting us ready. We weren't ready at that point.
Yeah. But
he was setting the foundation. And so we just grew really tight. His son, Kyvan, was a few years behind. And so he was coming up wrestling with us, Keelan Moore, Trey Pendleton, Onazi Agbesa. I mean, these guys, over time, we all became extremely committed, became extremely close. We did everything together.
You had a unit.
We had a unit.
A family.
A family, absolutely. It really was a family because some of my teammates, not going to lie, some of their homes weren't the best. And so that wrestling team became a family, and Coach Gatson became a father figure. We became like brothers. We spent the night at each other's homes. We went to parties together. We trained, obviously, together. We were at George Wythe, man, on the beach, running sprints in the morning. Coach Gatson would have us doing 2-a-days. That was part of the regiment to train, to get ready for the season, to get ready for Fargo Nationals. And he was just a phenomenal guy.
The seed of accountability partners was planted inside of you in the womb, actually. But then with sports in that way as well. So, Yeah, man. I think accountability partners are
Mm-hmm.
absolutely imperative to have success in this world. You have to
Yes.
have someone that you can turn to, whether that's a brother, a pastor, a friend, whoever
Mm-hmm.
it is, that is not impressed with you.
Yeah.
Right. That you can bring something to and say, look, man, I just need the real here. I need to talk with somebody who isn't so impressed with me that they're going to BS me and
Yes.
not keep
Yes.
me on the right path. I need somebody to hold me accountable.
Someone who looks at you as a human.
Yeah.
Flaws and all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, what were your parents like? I know you kind of spoke on your dad, but what was your relationship with your dad like throughout, your dad and mom, like, and your grandmother?
My mom and I, we've always been close. She's always a person I could talk to about anything. Especially as a teenager going through teenage stuff, man, girlfriends and whatnot. Man, she was always the person that I was going to because she always had that shoulder, that listening ear to just let me vent. She wasn't always trying to give me advice about something or tell me what to do. There's just some times where she just listened. And I truly appreciated that. My dad, on the other hand, he's a little bit different. I always have loved my dad. But I wouldn't say, man, there were definitely some times growing up where it was like the relationship, at least for me personally, was a little bit strained because, man, he was tough.
Yeah.
He was tough. There was expectations, man. And sometimes I just felt like it was hard to live up to those expectations. To be honest with you, there were some expectations that I didn't want to live up to because it just wasn't me.
Yeah.
I don't want to get a 4.0 because Charles is getting a 4.0. That's Charles's thing. I'm going to settle for a B in algebra because algebra is not my thing.
Yeah.
I don't like algebra. But I'll get a B because I love Miss Platty.
If you can rack a B in algebra, I'd say that's a win.
Right. But because Charles got an A, maybe I should have gotten an A. And I'm like, no. Like, so that just created sometimes unneeded tension.
Yeah.
Between my brother and I, just created this competitive atmosphere that I don't think needed to be there. And sometimes it just became extremely counterproductive.
Yeah.
But my dad was supportive, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that he loved me. But sometimes, man, it was just hard. Like I said, we grew up together. There's definitely some mistakes made along the way. Moments that were tough. But being a teenager and raising teenagers, I imagine, is pretty tough. We're autonomous beings. Charles and I mean, we were identical twins, but we definitely have different personalities. And, my parents did the best that they could.
Yeah.
And so I'm super happy. I'm grateful. I'm blessed for all the lessons, the times. Like, dude, our dad took us on vacations. He was at all of our sporting events. He drove us to places like Mississippi for family reunions. He drove us to Chicago for a vacation. He drove us to New Orleans. He drove us to Texas so we can go see our godfather. So it's not as if like my dad didn't do fatherly figure, loving son thing. Like he did all the things. He was a loving dad.
And set the bar very high.
Set the bar very high.
Yeah.
But of course he wasn't perfect. He's a human being.
Yeah.
So yeah, there were moments where he fell short. And yeah, some of those shortcomings did affect me in my development. But one thing I truly appreciate about my dad is he's always grown. He's still growing now. Like it's inspiring to see someone who could literally just be stuck in their ways. He has a good job. He's raised kids. He has a home. He's doing really well. He could settle and be like, I'm good enough. Kick my feet up.
Yeah.
But my dad is wired to constantly to grow and develop. I've seen him expand his horizons and perspectives, and that's been truly inspiring to see that he's still pushing.
Yep.
In his age.
Yeah. So as you got older, you became a teacher?
I did.
Walk me down that path.
I knew I wanted to be a teacher my junior year of high school. At that point, I had finally gotten to where I've had enough teachers who did it really well, and I have had enough that didn't do it so well. So when the ones who did it really well, the Mr. Tracy's, the Miss Plattys, the Mr. Wallace's, those people, the Mr. Burns, people who really spoke life into you.
Yeah.
Who did more than a contractual obligation, who saw past you as a student, they saw you as a human. They respected and loved who you were as a person and not only what you did in the classroom. And so I was like, I want to be like those guys.
Yeah.
I want to do that for somebody. You know, I want to be encouraged and lift someone up like they do. And then there were some teachers where I saw, you know, they had implicit biases that they didn't care to check. They didn't care to learn more about themselves and their viewpoints. They thought they could put all students in a box, and if you didn't fit into their box, well, there was something wrong with you and needed fixing. There were teachers who wrote students off because they didn't grow up the same way that they did and didn't have the same value system. You know, maybe they came from a household that didn't speak formal, proper English. And that was the standard. The teacher thought that you needed to be an intellectual. You needed to be someone to be considered worthy of respect. And those kind of mindsets create barriers between the very people that you're supposed to be trying to reach.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you can't force change on people, but you can influence change. And I just felt that there were some who tried to force change. And when you would not conform to their system, it's when you got suspended. That's when you started to fail the class. And I just told myself, man, I can do it way better than them. Yeah. I know I can.
Yeah.
And so
to conform is the enemy of transform.
Yes.
Somebody once told me, Dean Feltus told me that one time.
Okay,
He's the executive director of One City United, and they run a program called Momentum over there.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's awesome. But I sat down with him one time and he was like, and just remember Romans 12:2. And I was just like, oh man, you're right. And that's, you know, you picking that up at a young age and understanding the biblical framework of that is just awesome.
Yes, man. I was blessed. Man, I made a post a couple weeks ago, man. Not gonna lie. 7th grade, Mr. made their social studies class, reading the history books. And we were talking about Ahsoka, Buddha, Hammurabi, all the greats of ancient civilizations. And I remember telling Charles, I want to be in these books one day. Like one day somebody's going to be reading about me in these books. And at that moment, I didn't really know what I was saying. But today I understand it. And I wanted to make an impact. I knew from a very early age, I want to do something that makes an impact in people's lives, that helps them to be better, that enables them to be their best selves.
Yeah.
So I knew early, like, teaching was a conduit. Teaching was a vehicle in which to do that, because I'm around kids and people all day. It's the people business to be an educator. It wasn't so much that I loved history and English that much. I mean, I love those subjects, but I'm not crazy about it. I didn't want to go to college because I love English or history. I wanted to go to college because I need to get a degree that provides the avenue for me to get into this space to impact people's lives through history teaching. So I remember I told my dad, I said, man, I'm going to go to college to be a teacher. He's like, well, you know, they don't make a whole lot of money. You know?
Yeah, but they have great influence on society.
Right. So I was a little discouraged, man. And I gave it some time and I just didn't really bring it up again. But I can't remember how long it was. I don't know if I had finally transitioned to my senior year or if it was a few months. I went back to him again and I was like, yo, I'm going to college to be a teacher. Mm-hmm. And I meant it.
Yeah.
And
you were convicted.
In my mind, I just remember it as one of the first defining moments where, like, I wasn't standing up to my dad, but I was letting him know, like, this is the decision I'm making. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And he didn't argue. He didn't say nothing. Like, I just remember a little bit later him saying, you know, well, don't stay in teaching for very long. Make sure you get into administration. You know, that's where the money is at. So that was kind of like his way of saying, all right, man, I respect you. I respect your decision.
Well,
Go ahead.
Him maybe acknowledging that you're a man at this point and you're going to make the decisions that you're going to make.
Absolutely.
But you got to put your dad's advice, Dad, in check sometimes. Be like, I'm going to do this on my own, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So that's awesome. Hey, can we get into the other stuff?
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. So take me down that path. When did that were you always a drinker or?
No, because I was always training. So wrestling, high school, like I went to a couple parties.
Yeah.
And I did drink a little at those parties, or at least I thought I was. You know, it didn't take a whole lot because I was an athlete. So got a little buzz at a party here or there in high school. But most of the time I was training, so I was too afraid to party because I didn't want that to inhibit my performance on the mat. I'm trying to get better. I wanted to be a state champ. I wanted to go to college and do this and be a national champ. So those things don't set you up for success if that's your desire. And so I didn't start really drinking until I started teaching. Friday nights, going out with the staff, conferences, going out, knocking them back. And then I just remember the stress of the job. And I've always struggled. I'd always struggled with low self-esteem. So
same.
Drinking became that liquid courage, I would say. I felt that when I drank, that I was more confident. I was more loose. I was going to be a Chris Timms that was going to be more willing to go put myself out there and talk to people that I don't know and introduce myself. Because growing up, man, I had kind of been more of a wallflower. Charles was the talkative one. I was the quiet one. I mean, I didn't have to be, but that's kind of the role that was said, and that's kind of the role that then I adopted. But when I drank, I felt like, oh, yeah, this is the real me, and I'm confident, and I'm cool, and I feel good. And when I got to teaching and the stress of the job, and it wasn't like super duper stressful, but there were a couple of years where, man, I was dealing with some, I'm going to just be honest with you, man, I was dealing with some tough administration, bro.
Yeah.
Like I was for 2 years, I was teaching and I was being told that I was good for kids. What I'm doing was great. I had an administrator who was pouring life into me. He was giving me strategies. And then when he would come into my room to observe, he would see me implementing the strategy and he would give me feedback. It was like coaching. It was definitely something I was used to because that's what a good coach does.
Right.
This is what you did well. Have you ever thought of this? Try this the next time. I'm going to be looking for it and I'm going to give you some more feedback. That's what he did. Really appreciated it. Because even when he was hard on me, I knew that it was for my benefit.
Yeah, it was constructive.
Right. It was constructive. He ended up taking a head job somewhere else. So he leaves and our other principal took a job somewhere else. And we got new administration that came in. And this particular administrators, for some reason, decided that Christopher Timms was going to be the guy that he didn't like. And I'm not making up excuses, bro. I was in my third year teaching. So I knew there were things that I had to learn. And I wasn't where I am obviously today. I'm still learning today, by the way, but I know I wasn't a perfect teacher. But man, I'm being sat down. I'm literally being critiqued on everything. How I talk to kids, how I shake up with kids, things that you're praising my colleagues for doing that they got from me. But I'm getting condemned for it. So I'm in the meeting and then this guy tells me, I think I'm going to put you on a plan of assistance. And so this is what gets given to teachers when you're having some struggles, some challenges, and someone's tried to help you, but it just hasn't really worked. So this is the next step. It's supposed to be, supplemental, added extra help, but it doesn't. Oftentimes when you get one or you get threatened with one, it doesn't feel good to be put in this position. And so I'm like, I'm going to be put on a plan of assistance? Like I'm literally doing my gosh dang best. And then this guy proceeds to tell me, I think you have a lot of potential. You could be a rock star teacher or a rap star, if that's what you're into. And I'm saying, hold up. Like, what do you mean?
That's very interesting.
What do you mean a rap star? So I'm so shocked that this guy even says this to me. Like, I'm just taken aback. Like, what? And like I said, I'm in my third year. I didn't know they were legal steps that I could have taken. I didn't know that I could bring my union rep. Right. I didn't know I could have filed a grievance or a complaint. Right. So I didn't do anything. This is my evaluator, my boss, so to speak. He tells me this. So I leave because, man, I'm just being honest with you. I didn't want to like pull the race card, but I felt like, man, this guy's being like, man, what are you trying to say? Would you have said this to me if I was white? Like, what do you mean? Because I wear chains and earrings, you just assume? Like, you could have just left it at Rockstar. Or you could have just said, you could be a great teacher. But, that kind of affected me.
As it would anybody.
And
because if you say you could be great at what you're doing, or you could be great at something totally different, where was the context for something totally different?
Yes.
That didn't align. That when you said that to me, that didn't align. So
it was. It was weird.
Way out of context.
Weirdo behavior, man. And that really affected my self-esteem. Plus, like I told you, man, I was already struggling with low self-esteem anyway.
Yeah.
So it didn't help. Not blaming, but it just didn't help. So like I said, drinking became this thing for it's how I relax. This is how I unwind. Look, I busted my butt today with the kids, did my job. You know, I had been started dating who would become my wife, Katie. Shout out to her. Love you, baby.
Yeah.
I was dating Katie, and I just felt after a hard day's work, man, I'm gonna drink a couple beers.
Yeah.
You know,
You earned it.
I earned it, right. I'm gonna have a couple glasses of whiskey, man. I kind of got into that. Had a decanter set, so I was going to work. I was being a good partner, paying bills, so I didn't think that I really had a problem. You know, it was socially acceptable. We leave work on Friday, man. Some teachers, they go to the bar, man. It's perfectly socially acceptable. So I didn't think that there was an issue, or at least I was suppressing that there was an issue because everyone around me, you know, they're doing it. Plus, you know, I'm stressed. I'm relaxed. I got control over this. This is not an issue. So that's kind of how it started, man, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. What were you like when you drank? Or
Goofy.
Goofy?
Yeah, goofy. Do silly stuff. Try to crack jokes.
Turned up.
Turned up, yeah. Things I normally didn't do because normally I would just be a pretty quiet, reserved person, but I was much louder, more active. But then I also would get angry too.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be easy. You're talking about somebody with low self-esteem, already had anger issues. When I was perfectly sober, I could get angry and flip the switch.
That's when all the shame comes out, right? When you're messed up, when you've suppressed it all for such a long time, you got a whole bunch of stuff sitting in that proverbial shame bucket, and somebody comes over and kicks it. What do you think is going to spill out? Nothing good.
Nothing.
Right.
I've been filling that bucket, as you say. I had been filling it with garbage, tons of just trauma that wasn't dealt with, and adverse experiences,
not enoughness,
disappointments, self-inflicted pain. And, you know, I wasn't always the nicest person. When the circumstances weren't going my way, if I was already frustrated or angry, all alcohol did was just exasperate and elevate that emotion and that problem.
Yeah, amplifies it, dude.
Yeah, it did. Amplified it, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, same.
So,
I would
all my fights, a lot of them were in college, man. Almost didn't make it, bro. Almost got kicked out. Like, the resident director, this guy sat me down and told me my senior year, you get in one more scuffle, you are done. And I'm on a full tuition scholarship at Wartburg at that time. Full tuition, but I had gotten into so many scuffles, not always in the wrong. Some of them I was. But if you took alcohol out of the equation, I don't think that I would have reacted a lot of the ways that I did. You know, I think I would have thought more rationally. Like, I don't have to fight. This is not a battle that I need to take. But with the alcohol in my system, you talk to me you talk to me, Trey. You disrespected
the dog's coming out. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm about to, you know, and here we go. Boop, boop, boop.
Yep.
We in here boxing, throwing hands. We're supposed to be having fun, and you know, it just never was good. And even in that time, I didn't recognize it because then I was young. I'm in my 20s, so doing the college thing. So this is supposed to be typical. This is normal behavior for college.
Yeah.
People do this stuff all the time. So I didn't look at it as an issue even then.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, where were you at with your faith in this time?
So this whole time, man. So same time when I knew that I was called to teach, later on I realized I was called to preach. And that created, it was freeing and it was wonderful. It was amazing to see, like, I was at my Uncle Jimmy's funeral, and my pastor at the time, Michael Lee Coleman, he had delivered the eulogy. We're at the cemetery, you know, and they're doing the ashes to ashes, dust to dust, the whole nine. And I just remember this moment of grieving. It should have been, for some people, it just absolutely is. But Pastor Coleman was able to create this, through God, this environment of celebrating life. We celebrated Uncle Jimmy's life. We were more concerned and focused on the life that he lived instead of being fixated and defeated because he passed away.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I want to do that for people. I just remember being overcome with emotion, just like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
To me, it was like, this is way more impactful than teaching. I can teach students and I can give them tools that they can use to elevate themselves in life. But if I don't give them Christ, what's the point of gaining the whole world and you lose your soul along the way?
Yeah.
So I said I have to do something much more meaningful than just impart wisdom and knowledge and instruction, teaching, like how to live better, how to be free from sin, free from condemnation, free from shame.
Yeah.
And so I remember asking Pastor Coleman right then and there at the cemetery, I believe I've been called to preach. Can you be my mentor? He agreed right on the spot.
How long ago was this?
That was my junior year in high school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So around that same time that I knew I wanted to teach, I got that calling to preach. And at that time, I thought I had to choose between the two. I didn't think that it was a possibility of doing both. I either had to teach or I had to preach. So that created some anxiety as well.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I had to, at some point, I'm going to have to make a choice. Young kid, didn't know that I could do both.
If you gave up one other thing.
Right. Thought I had to make a choice. And I ran from that calling. Once I got to college and I started doing the college thing, I got to this point where I was so ashamed of the life I was living. I'm chasing after girls.
Yeah.
I'm drinking, man. I'm swearing all the time. I'm hanging out with the guys.
Disconnected.
I'm not in my word. I'm not praying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even going to church. I'm going to church on youth Sundays when they have like the college Sunday because they give us a free meal. So yeah, I'm going to eat, but I'm not concerned about getting fed with the word. I'm trying to feed my belly because I'm at Warburg, man. My mom and dad were like, you're not coming home every weekend to get no home cooked meal. And so, man, if I can get fried chicken and greens and for free, I'll show up to church. I'll go through the 2-hour service to get that meal. Absolutely. So I had just gotten so far from it. I just felt like there's no way God can use me now. After all this, God can't use me. Why would he? Why would he want to? So I thought that the calling was done. It was over. And every now and then I would get a glimpse that it was still in me. I was still chosen. But because of what I was doing and where my priorities were at the time, I just told myself, he can't use me. Like I'm not living right. I kept telling myself before I step into ministry, I got to clean up all this. I got to be perfect. I can't make mistakes. I can't have these burdens, these challenges. And so I ran from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Alcohol will make you do that. The enemy will make you do that.
Yeah.
Tell me about a time when you feel like you were the most messed up.
It's hard to think of one defining moment, man. Be honest, man, there's so many I can choose from. It's hard to figure out which one is number one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's like so many that are like, okay, this was probably right up there with number 2 and 3, but yeah.
And then probably countless times that I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. We can circle back to that if you want. Okay. So try this one. A moment that you look back on with the most regret.
The moment I looked back on with the most regret. There's a moment, and I don't even remember what we were arguing about. It was my wife and I was married. Like I was married at this time.
Yeah.
Everly was super young. We had gotten an argument, man, and I flipped out. I'm throwing stuff.
Yeah.
Tearing shit up. Excuse my language. Tearing stuff up, man. And punched a couple holes in some walls.
Yeah.
I didn't put my hands on Everly or Katie, but I just don't even remember telling myself in that moment, at least I didn't hit nobody.
Yeah.
I hit the wall, so, it's not that bad. It's like, I made an idiot out of myself, man, over stuff. Can't even tell you right now what we were arguing about. But I can guarantee you that had I not been intoxicated, it wouldn't have went down like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It terrifies me actually. And I think when I have so many regrets in my own journey, Chris, that, you know, I punched many holes in walls, and I've yelled and screamed about things that when you come out of it are so petty and so small in contrast to like the greater picture that what God has for you in terms of a loving marriage, a healthy parenthood journey. You know, like there's so many times when I feel like I've made a mess, you know, and I've had to go back and I think what alcohol did for me was allow me to suppress those emotions so I didn't have to deal with them. It helped me to take that mess and sweep it into the closet that was my soul, right?
Exactly. Close that door.
And I pushed it into that shame bucket, right? Like it was down in that bucket and it was hidden. And I think in those moments as a father and as a husband, as a brother, as a son, when you truly hurt or embarrass yourself or other people, and then they have the scars that they have to deal with because of the actions or the things that you did when you were intoxicated, that's the mess, right? And I have I'll just tell you personally, like I have so many of those. And like yourself, like if I was asked that question today, there's many incidents that I could cite, but you know, I mean, there was a time I got drunk on the river and floated off. I got so angry with the group that I was with that I just floated off by myself, and I could have died. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
I got back to the shore afterwards, and I tried to drive my car. You know, I mean, there's things like that. There's, you know, operating motor vehicles while intoxicated. People could have died. You know, I could have hurt. I did hurt people. You know, there's all kinds of things that have happened. And it's messy. Yeah. And those are some of the things that, like, if, you know, when you talk about shame that pile up and you get scared that other people are going to find out about that stuff, you know. Absolutely. But at some point you have to lean into God and be like, dude, I need you to help me clean this mess up. Yes. Because only He can turn your shame into glory. He can. That's the only way. That's the only way. And we could talk, I could go on for days and days and days about that question or those incidents. Yes. But I asked that just to kind of understand, like, what, because I use that to kind of set up the next question is what have you done in your life to kind of clean some of that stuff up?
If we could circle back to that question before about when I was most messed up. Yeah. I would say, because like I said, there's just so many, but man, there were times where I was in the car, bro, and I was driving to go get some more alcohol. My kids were with me. Yeah. Like, my kids are in the back seat. Like, Everly's in the back seat. I've already had a few, but I'm like, well, I'm not impaired enough where I can't drive. You haven't
breached that line
yet. I haven't crossed that threshold. I know me. I know my body. Put my baby girl, my child, the best blessing of my life, in danger over alcohol. Yeah. Man, I was so sick in that addiction, in that shame, that I was willing to risk my pride and my joy, the best of me, to go get a fix. Mm-hmm. To go get a fix, bro. Like, that's what I was willing to do. Mm-hmm. And then justify it. You know, and that's probably the disgusting piece. Like, dude, I was disgusting, bro. Disgusting. So, yeah, there are moments where I was angry and got violent, man. But to me, that's as low as it gets. Like,
when you put other people in jeopardy.
Other people's lives. And any time that I got behind the wheel, I was putting my own life in danger, but people around me, anyone who could have been walking. There were some times where I was leaving, because I'll go back to Warburg every now and then. I had friends who stayed and helped coach. So that we had graduated, but they stayed on staff. And there were times where I knew I shouldn't have drove home. By the grace of God, I made it. But I needed glasses at that point and I didn't have them. So I can't even see the lines that separate the lanes. And I'm driving on the highway. So yeah, those moments, man, I think those are like my most messed up moments where not only could it affected me, it would have affected so many others. It would have impacted so many others' lives.
Yeah. Same. It's when other people have to deal with the repercussions of your actions,
Yes.
or even the thought of them having to. For me, that was it. That you hit the nail on the nose, because I think I've said this before, but I would when I would leave the house in the morning.
Yeah.
I would drive to drop my son off at school,
Mhm.
right? Like I would get up. I would probably even have like a 1 or 2 fireball shot left in my dresser drawer that I would grab in the morning just to get the day going, right? I would take him to school. I would drop him off and I'd stop at another gas station and pick up a 10-pack of fireball shooters after that. And that's where I would come in and dude, I would hide those things around my house. It was crazy. I think my wife found them one time and she was like, dude, what is going on?
Yeah. Same. The exact same. Fireball, bro. I had the same ones. The same ones, man.
That gives me goosebumps because that was when it was terrible. Do you know how bad that stuff is for you?
Yeah. It's disgusting. It's awful.
Oh. Sorry, I'm just sitting here like having a severe heebie-jeebie flashback to this. Yes. And I can remember I would drink them and I would put them like in the center console of my car. Yep. And then I would look in that sucker and I'd be like, dude, like the next day I'd be like, dude, this is a problem.
Yes.
And then I can remember I don't want to go and spend more money on this. So I'm going to go get 10 of them and pour the leftovers into one of them and see if I can get a half a shot out of it.
I've done it. Everything you literally described. The center console, my car was full. And that's when I would come back down, wake up in the morning, I would still go lift in the morning.
Yeah.
This whole time.
I'd still be out in this neighborhood jogging around, drunk.
Yeah, so it's 5 in the morning. I get in the car and see the contents of my binge and excursions from the day before. And I'm like, man, this is how much I drank? All these shooters in my passenger side, on the ground, in the center console, in the door. I don't even know what you call them, but the door.
Yeah, the little door fold thing.
That door fold thing. Yes, full of Fireball, Hennessy.
Tito's.
Nah, not Tito's, man, but E&J. Because I was like, man, I'm spending too much money. So I'm like, you know what, man? If I'm just chasing after the feeling, I don't necessarily care about the quality of it, as long as I can get it down. So I started drinking E&J and Parmesan because that's $5.
Yeah.
So I'm going to Ali's, man, in Waterloo, trying to go to those places because I'm like, I don't want nobody to see me.
Right.
But if I can go if I go in my hood in Waterloo, the only people who are going to see me are people who go to those places.
Right.
They doing the same thing as me.
Right.
So
hiding it.
So I would go to those places, tell my wife, hey, I'm going to Broadway. I'm going to go get some food.
Yeah.
Which I was. But this was like a half truth, bro.
Yeah.
Because the food was only an excuse to go get some more alcohol.
Yeah.
So of course I bought the food, the wings or whatever, but I got alcohol was the real reason I was going.
That was the only reason that you were going. The food was a front.
The food was a front. And I mean the food was good, but it was definitely a front. It's not why I wasn't going. Because the bottle was already drank before I even got back.
Yep.
Before I even got back.
Yep.
And I would walk through the door and the only thing I had was food. So yeah, I just went to go get food.
Dude, I can remember it was probably 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
Day was done. My wife and kids are in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dang, we don't have, and I made it up. We don't have, I don't think we have milk at the house. And my wife's like, I think we have milk. And I was like, I just want to be sure. So I got to stop at Hy-Vee real quick. And I'll pull into Hy-Vee. And the first thing I would do is I'd jet right over to the customer service thing. Yeah. And I'd grab not the little shooters because they didn't sell the little shooters there. I grabbed this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fifth, it's a quart or a pint or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the little bottle of Fireball, and I'd jet into the bathroom and I'd chug the whole thing. Gone.
In the Hy-Vee.
In the Hy-Vee, right?
Wow.
And then I'd go grab a thing of milk and come out and be like, all right, I'm good to go.
Jeez.
just so I could go to sleep at night.
Man. Yeah, man.
Because if there was nothing at the house, there was no way I was going to get back out at 10:30 at night. There was no reason for me to leave the house at that point.
None.
So I got to do it on the way home.
I did the same thing, making up reasons to leave.
Yeah.
And I was just talking about it with Katie because I was talking to her and she had brought up a time. I don't even remember. I went to go get pizza and she said I was gone for so long that when I came back, the pizza was cold.
Yeah.
Like she said she was so angry. And she said that was like one of the first times she started to recognize, this may be a problem.
Yeah. Something's happening here.
Bro, I got pulled over by the cops, drunk.
Yeah.
Coming from getting pizza. I was leaving the Evansdale OP, get pulled over on Lafayette. I thought for sure that I'm going to jail today. This is where it's all over. I'm losing my job. It's done. And man, I don't even know why he stopped me. But he's like, hey, where are you coming from? I was like, well, coming from Evansdale OP, just grab some pizza for the family. It's like, oh, well, you're just going a little fast or whatever or something like that I was doing. Just, slow down next time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, officer. Heart racing, pounding, dude. Like,
yeah, I'm going to jail.
I was about to throw up.
Yeah.
And drove off. Bro, the bottle was under the pizza box.
Yeah.
Half drank. Still had the contents in it. It's under the pizza box. That's the only place I could hide it. I have nowhere else to hide it. As he's approaching the car, I'm like, man, for sure he saw me wrestling with something. So then I'm thinking, I'm going to either go to jail or he might think I have a weapon and I might die. Then they're going to find alcohol in my system, and that's going to be the legacy of Christopher Timms.
Right.
And I don't know if that was the time where the pizza was cold or not, but Katie told me that it couldn't have been that time because she said that when I got out the car, I couldn't even walk into the house. I was stumbling so bad. But maybe it could have been that time, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? That's how scary it is because it was more than once.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't stop me. Before I got to the house, I was drinking again. I had just gotten pulled over. Just could have lost everything. And I get a few blocks away, move the pizza box out the way. But know what I told myself? I need this because I'm stressed.
Yeah, you got through it. Oh, yeah.
I need this.
Yeah.
I deserve this.
Idiot.
You idiot. What the heck was I thinking, bro? It's stupid.
I did the same thing, man.
If I can go back in time, I slapped the piss out of myself. Like, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Your pizza story, I do have to say one thing about that. I really appreciate the fact that you drove all the way to Evansdale to get the Evansdale OP pizza because they are the best one. Just got to say it. Gotta say it.
Shout out Edale OP, baby.
Okay, here's the deal, dude. They're the only ones that make their dough in-house every day. Everybody else orders their dough from Martinson. Just so everybody knows. I'm putting it out there. I know it's a trade secret, but if you want real OP pizza, go to the Evansdale OP. Shout out.
Evansdale OP. And the gizzards are off the chain.
Yes. And that's the only one that you can get gizzards at, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
it is.
Whatever. Just had to throw that in there. Sorry. Didn't mean to be disruptive.
Yeah, I'm a pizza snob. So
yeah, me too.
Even risking it even more because there were places I could have gotten pizza that were way closer. Like Casey's is right around. It's a couple blocks away.
It's worth the risk, dude.
I drove all the way to Evansdale. Like, nah, man. If I'm getting pizza, I'm getting the good stuff.
But also, it gave you more time to drink.
Yes, it also did that as well. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So were you yeah. Oh man, where do I want to go? We just unpacked a lot there.
Yeah, man.
What obstacles did the addiction to alcohol create for you?
Man, it made my low self-esteem worse.
Oh.
It didn't make it better. The only time it felt better was when I was drunk. But after a few hours, oh man, it was worse than it was before I drank. It was worse. Because now I'm guilty about what I've just done.
10 times. 10 maybe 100 times worse.
It's 10 times worse. I was already dealing with so many things. I was low. And I did not have a very good outlook on myself, my self-worth, who I was. I was trying to get validation in achieving things. Like I need to become the head coach at Waterloo East because when I do that, then I'm good enough. I need to win the Gold Star Teaching Award because then when I win that, I'll be good enough. I need to win 20 under 40 because when I do that, I'll be good enough. Everything was always about being good enough because I didn't realize at that time that my value was never in what I did. It was always in who I was. But who I was I was so ashamed of it. I never wanted I didn't show the real me. I never gave people the authentic Christopher Timms because I didn't think that the authentic me would be accepted, that people will, and I didn't really know who that was. I really didn't understand who he was anyway. So what I was putting out there was this fake version of Christopher that
Synthetic.
had everything all figured out, was doing everything correctly, the dutiful son. He's taking care of his family. He's going to work and giving back to the kids. He's giving back to the community, and I was doing those things, but it wasn't the real me. It wasn't me operating at my best version of myself. It was some lie. It was a facade.
Yeah. It was synthetic, dude.
Yeah.
It was made up. Oh.
Yeah, it presented challenges. It presented challenges with me and my wife.
Did you get sick?
Did I get sick? There were some times, man. You know what? There were some times where I was throwing up the next day. I'm throwing up like bile, yellow and orange.
The bottom.
I'm throwing that up. I got the shakes.
Oh.
There were some moments like that where I would have that feeling for like 2 straight days.
Yeah. Couldn't even drink water. I remember not being able to drink water. There was a time when my father-in-law invited me over for like, it was like some ceremonious meal for like New Year's Day or whatever, right?
Okay,
and he had spent some time, he had cooked a nice dinner, and him and his wife like put out plates, and it was a dinner.
Yes,
and they had invited us over, and I just sat there and I just looked at it and I was like, dude, I can't eat it. I tried a piece of it, and instantly that I don't know if it's indigestion or like heartburn or whatever, that acid started getting in my throat. Yeah. And I had to run to the bathroom. Got out the bathroom, a little shaky because I yacked a little bit. And then I tried to drink some water, and then I was like, oh no, this is bad. And I just had to tell him, I was like, hey, I can't eat. It was that bad.
So
it was that bad.
Did they know then?
I think they had a good idea, but here's the thing. And I think maybe you might share this sentiment or understand this better than most. When I'm a high I personality, and I'm going to tell you, like, I'm abrasive in moments, right? So when, like, if you approached me about something, I would clap back pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was always one to be like, I was punchy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you said something to me and I felt a certain kind of way about it, I would tell you about yourself too. You know what I mean?
You're gonna give it back.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it back. I'm gonna stand up for myself. You're not gonna tell me about me, right? So I was that kind of person when I would drink, but amplified infinitely, right?
Yes.
To the point where it wasn't good. Every conversation that I got into, if somebody tried to approach me that way, I was like, get off, like, what? And it just got ugly.
Yeah.
So nobody really wanted to talk to me about it. And it got so bad that, like, when my wife was actually reaching out to family and friends, like, dude, I need help with Nick. Like, there is a problem here.
Yeah.
People were like, ooh, that's a time bomb. I don't want anything to do with it. Right. So,
no, thank you.
So by the grace of God, like, I was approached at the right time in the right place where I was submissive to the point that I knew that I was so bad that I was going to die. But that's a whole nother thing. But like, when you ask, did they know? Did they say anything about it? They knew. I think everybody knew. I think everybody knew Nick was sick because Nick drank.
Yes.
But nobody really wanted to, like, because of my personality, it was just, it was bad. I was messy.
Yeah.
I had to clean up my mess.
My face used to peel, and I'm pretty sure it was the side effect of alcohol, but like around my nose area and my mouth would just start to flake. It would peel, look like scales.
Yeah.
And it was around my eyes, just like dry skin. I'm like telling myself it's the face wash I'm using. That's what's doing it. So I'm trying to tell my wife, I need moisturizers and whatever else. I know it was the alcohol because now that I don't drink, I've never had that issue.
Right.
It's not an issue anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was just severe dehydration, or I know that it was me killing myself slowly. Absolutely. So yeah, there were moments where I definitely was sick. Not too many times where I was so sick that I couldn't eat, but there were mornings where I didn't know. There were mornings where I was sick, and I had to call in like I had the flu. Like, I can't go to work today. But it felt like the flu, but it was really because I had a whole weekend of drinking.
Yeah.
So I missed
Because you were on a bender.
Right. So I missed a Monday, got sick. I was sick.
Yeah.
And there were a few times like that, but man, tough stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what was your mental health like during this time?
Terrible. That's what made me so short-fused. As I said, when those struggles started to happen at the job, and I was using teaching to try to give myself self-worth, and now I got this person telling me that I'm not good at it. Oh, man. So the thing that I've gone to college for, that God told me, this is what you're going to do, I'm being told that I'm not good at it. I thought that I needed this to give me value, and now you're taking the thing that I was saying that I believed gave me value, taking it away from me. So I thought of myself terribly. I would go home, I'd be venting about that place. I'd be talking about this dude. He lived in my head rent free. I hated this guy, man. Like, I hated him because I felt like he took like my value away from me. Like, he snatched it away. And to be honest with you, Nick, I was a freaking dang good teacher even then.
Yeah.
I was a dang good teacher. I don't know what it was, but it was just, at the end of the day, it's something that he had to deal with. It was more his problem, not mine. I understand that now.
There's no testimony without a test,
right,
my friend.
And so I had that. I was coaching wrestling, and it was wrestling. We were having some limited success, some individual success with various guys, but it was hard to fill a full team. I was the associate at the time under Coach Gatson had passed away at this point. He had passed from cancer in 2012. So lost him, and that was hard. Pastor Coleman, I would end up losing him too. And that was tough. I remember being angry at God for a long time. Like, all the people who loved me, for me, you took them from me. Like Pastor Coleman, like, because they knew me. They knew me. Like, Coach Gatson knew I struggled with low self-esteem. He had told my mom and dad on numerous times, Chris needs a sports psychologist. They refused to do it. They said, no, son, you just need to pray about it. You need to go to church. And for a long time, I had resentment with them because there were parts of me that knew I needed help, but they weren't giving me the help that I needed. And Coach, he knew he could see it. And so when he passed, man, I just felt like I lost somebody who really understood me. And not having them to lean on was tough. My wife was having a great time at the job. Katie was. By this time, we're married. So she's coming home, and her paradigm of what's at the school is totally different than mine. Administration loves her. She's on inside conversations. She's told how great she is. And I'm having the total opposite when I come home. And so that creates conflict with us. I'm like, F those people over there. I don't like those people. Oh, those are our friends. They're not my friends. Because this is how I feel. I'm from Waterloo. I was born and raised here. And when I go into this place, I feel like a stranger in my own home. It's like, some of these people don't even live here, for goodness sake. They don't care about kids. The number of kids that we lost, like, we lost kids, bro. So we were dealing with that too. Kids who passed away, dying, gun violence, things like that. And you go to the funeral, and the same people that they praise can't even take time out of their day to go pay respects to somebody that spent time in your class that you're supposed to be trying to build a relationship with. Katie and I were going. There were many visitations that we went to and funerals that we went to. I hate having to say that we did, but that's just the reality of it. So I was so frustrated knowing that in my heart, I'm here for kids, and more than just this way of education. I'm here for kids for when they're in this building, when they're out of this building, when there are students, when they transition to high school, when they transition into an adult. I'm a teacher and a coach for life. Like, if you need me as a full-grown adult, I'm your teacher still.
Yeah.
I'm still Mr. Tim. I'm still Coach Tim's. And I had that heart in me then, but at that time, I felt like I needed other people to validate my gift. I needed other people to validate my purpose because I wasn't being recognized for it, and because I was being ridiculed in some ways. It just really had, my mental health was just not good. I started going to counseling. Started going to a place called Hope Tree. My counselor, Danny, he was amazing. He was great. I was drinking then. We were talking about it. He was trying to help me through it. But at that time, I wasn't ready to change. I was going through so much. It's like, no way, I'm about to give up my crutch. Alcohol is my crutch.
Best friend. How am I going to give up my best friend?
I'm not giving up what makes me feel good when I'm down. You know, what are you talking about, Danny? You crazy. You need a psychologist. That's what I'm testifying, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I did the same thing. I was in long-term counseling with a great counselor.
Yeah.
What, like, I would say world class. And I was getting a lot out of it. But at some point he was like, dude, do you feel like you're an alcoholic? I was like, no, I don't think so. No, I'm not. And he was like, okay.
Yeah,
it sucked.
There were moments like that for me as well.
Yeah.
Moments that would have been significant had I not been impaired by alcohol.
Yeah.
I was at Dan Gable, wrestling legend, right? Waterloo legend. It's at his 72nd birthday. Lit. And like what you said about you couldn't eat, could not eat. And they had a good spread there. Couldn't even enjoy it because I was lit.
Because your stomach is broken.
My stomach was like, no. And I just remember being there, and on the way, like, I'm driving me and one of my associate coaches. He don't even know how much I've had. Could have killed us both. You know, so he's having a great time. We get there. My other coach is there. They eating. They're having fun. They're laughing, joking, taking pictures, flicking up. Because there's legends here, man. I mean,
yeah,
a party for 72nd birthday. Plus, you know, he won his gold medal in 1972. So it's 72. This is a big deal. Now, this is wrestling, bro. Wrestling in the Iowa community. Very tight-knit. But, man, there's some people who can throw on back. So there were some people who were lit. But that's not the point. The point was, I'm so lit that I didn't even enjoy this occasion the way that I could have. And I didn't get to connect with people intimately like I could have because alcohol created this wall. I knew I couldn't interact. So what did I do? My solution was, you know, I'll just buy some more alcohol. Let me go get a gin and tonic from the bar.
Yep.
And then
it's fixed everything before. Why wouldn't it fix it now?
It made it worse.
Yeah.
So now I got anxiety with this in me, and my heart is racing. I'm like, I just want to get out of here. Looking at my phone, my watch, looking at the program. How much more do we? Can I keep it together for another hour? So when it's done, and now my coaches are taking pictures and stuff, I'm like, I'm trying to go. Like, I want to go. Because I knew I wasn't well. Man, those moments, like what you said with going to counseling, like it hindered the progress that could have been made.
Yeah, it's a thief. It's a thief, dude. It steals who you are and the joy out of your life. It might infuse you with some euphoria for a hot minute, but that I can remember. Okay, yeah. So this is a good point. I can remember wanting to drink just to have that, and then it would only last for 15 minutes, and then the mental health stuff would start.
Yeah,
you know, and it would be like, dude, the period of time in which I can enjoy a buzz has diminished down to zero. Right? Like it went from you could be drunk all day to drunk for an hour to drunk for 15 minutes and then bad again. And then when you drank, you no longer had that euphoric feeling of
yes.
It was no longer good at all.
Absolutely.
It was like it's almost like your internal, like your body stopped taking it the way that it was. You know, I don't know how that works, but there was something there that like you would just drink to like exist.
Right. Like I needed it. Like a car needs gas.
Yes.
to operate, man. I need
That was my
alcohol.
source of like calories or something. You know what I mean?
My
My
fuel.
body was going to run on it.
Right.
But it was really poison and it was killing me.
Yeah. Absolute poison.
I can remember I was throwing up, and when I would go, like I could barely urinate. And when I did urinate, the discoloration terrified me because it was so dark.
Yeah.
Not to be gross or whatever, but it was so dark. And I was like, what's going on?
Killing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Your kidneys are and your liver are so messed up right now.
You know, by the grace of God, man, I didn't have that. It didn't manifest in that way. And I go to get my yearly physical, and I do have elevated liver enzymes, but not from the alcohol.
Right.
It's from the pre-workout I take.
Oh.
So the pre-workout elevates it. So every now and then I gotta wean myself off of the pre-workout and detox, and then I just do water and sodium. But you know, I did have a little bit of fatty liver that developed.
Yeah.
Because I was also very overweight for me. Like I was weighing like 215 pounds. Like I think my heaviest was 220. I'm only 5'7".
Yeah.
Pretty sure I'm 5'6" with no shoes on. So I'm not a very, imposing guy. I'm not tall or nothing like that. That's why I wrestled.
Yeah.
But man, I was heavy. And going to the doctor, like I had to go to the doctor for like 3 straight years, getting scans on my liver because they wanted to make sure that this didn't develop into cancer. So now this was added stress. And even then, bro, that wasn't enough to stop drinking. Kept telling myself, well, it's because what I'm eating. It's not because of the drinking. Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell me, let's bring this around. Tell me about when you started your journey into sobriety. What did that look like? What was where did that happen? How did that happen?
I started growing tired of drinking, man. Katie and I had some tough conversations to stop. I would always throw something back at her that she did that I didn't like, that she wasn't changing. And that was my excuse for me not to change. It's like, well, why do I have to when you're not? And I just remember, because I'm going to be honest with you, I did not change for Katie or Everly or Leighton. And I know that may sound bad, but I changed for me so I could be better for Katie, Everly, and Leighton. But they were not the driving force. I think God started to put this feeling in me of like, I just started to hate who I was doing it. And I knew I wasn't living to my best capability. I knew I wasn't. It's like, man, I'm selling myself short. Like, I can't do this forever. I don't want to live like this forever. And Charles had a friend at Mud who had gone through the same thing. And Charles tried to hook us up before, and I was like, nah, I don't need that, man. Stay out of my business. Charles knew. I think my parents, like, they didn't want to accept it. Because I think for them, it made them feel some type of way, like they did something wrong that resulted in me doing these things. So I don't think they really want to accept how much of a problem it was. But Charles, being my twin, he knew it was a problem. So he was trying to extend an olive branch to help me in various ways, and I was not having it. But he just wanted his brother back. And I remember calling this guy to like, hey, what's me? And this dude met me that day. That same day, that evening, shows up to my house. This is like our first time officially meeting me. I had met him at Mud a couple of times through Charles, but it's like our first time meeting. He comes to my house. We sit down. Katie and Everly late, and they go upstairs, give us some privacy. We talk for like 2 hours. And, I'm not going to lie, bro. I was drunk that day because I drank earlier. But I finally got to that point where I told myself, man, I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm going to make a step. And when he came, that was the last day. That was the last time that I drank. Was that night. That was the last time that I drank. I ended up meeting him a couple more times at his place for coffee before I would go to school. So this is like 5:30 in the morning. I'm supposed to be at school by 7:20 in the building. I'm going at 5:30 in the morning to meet talk about Jesus, pray, talk about God. We're having coffee. He's telling me his story. It sounds kind of like mine. He said, I was in the church choir and I was drunk. I was praising God. And I was like, man, there's other people like me out there?
Yeah.
There's other people like struggling with this? His story gave me power. I'm like, man, well, if he can change, I know I can. And so then, that real Chris Tim started to come out a little. I always tell my wife, the most authentic version of me is probably in the weight room. It's when I felt like my most confident. But I felt like that in that moment. I was like, man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit to this. I'm not going to let alcohol beat me. I'm a freaking wrestler, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
I've been trained to never let anything hold me on my back.
Yeah.
When you get on your back, you're supposed to get to your belly, get to your base, get to your feet, and then keep fighting. Like, it's not over until the whistle blows, and I still got breath in my lungs. That means the whistle hasn't blown. I'm still alive. So I just told myself, I'm about to engage in the toughest wrestling match of my life, and I'm about to win. I'm about to, I don't care if I never won a state title. I don't care if I've never won a national title. I'm about to do something that a lot of people don't think can be done. And I just remember telling myself, like, I ain't going to AA, no knock on it. But I said, I'm not doing that. Like, if I need to go, I will go.
Yeah.
So, but I am going to put my faith in God.
Yes.
Because all the times I said I was going to be faithful and I wasn't. I was a quitter. I was always a person that when things got really, really rough, I would yell at God. I would literally be cussing. I hate you. Like, I effing hate you. You've done this to me. Like, you were supposed to love me. Like, you took Pastor Coleman away from me. You took Coach Gatson away from me. How could you do this to me? Like, these were the guys that I needed. You are the reason why I'm in this boat. And then I just remember telling myself, I'm going to put my total faith in God and lean on him. And I started going down that path, bro. And in that same time, Pastor Charles J. Daniel became our pastor. We were without a pastor for 3 years, going through this arduous process of finding one, search committees and things, and thinking we were going to have one, and then we didn't. And then Charles J. Daniel becomes the pastor. And he had been around for a little bit. I'm still trying to fill this guy out. I didn't really know. I'm still, he ain't Pastor Coleman. Mm-hmm. And I told myself, I'm not getting close to this guy. I don't even know if I like him. He trying to, I can't let him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just remember one day, bro, my dad texted my brother and I, and he said, I need somebody to do the message for Deacon's annual day. Can one of you guys do it? My heart dropped. And it sounds selfish, but I said to myself, I texted yes. Before I knew it, I texted yes, I'll do it. Without even thinking. I only had stopped drinking, I think. It wasn't even a full year, it was just like a couple months. Because this was in January when I stopped. And this annual day was probably about April or May. So it's still relatively recent. But I just remember telling myself, I'm doing this because I need to know, is that calling still on my life?
Yeah.
Because if I don't find out, I may never get this opportunity again. And I have to know. I have to know, am I still chosen? And I couldn't let Charles take it. Like I couldn't, because I knew like Charles, he speaks well, he raps, he's great. But I was like, I got to do this for me. I can't let Charles take it. I need this right now. And so I agreed before I even knew it. And I was having instant regret. Like, what did I just do? Yeah. Who am I to get up in this pulpit and preach? Like, what?
Yeah.
What was I thinking? I was nervous. And they send me the scriptures from Isaiah's Old Testament. I'm like, what the heck is this even talking about? I don't even remember what the verse was. And I remember being, trying to piece it together, having some struggles. And Reverend Nat, one of our associate ministers at the time, called me. He says, brother, God put it on my heart to call you. How's the message coming along? I said, man, to be honest with you, I'm struggling right now. He tells me, he's like, look, so God is the master chef. You're just the waiter. You don't need to worry about how the meal is prepared. You just need to serve it and let God do the rest. I said, Okay. He said, look, I got some commentaries, some things that break down biblical instruction and help you understand context. I got some commentaries. You can have these, and these will help you, put your message together. And if you need me to look it over, like, I can look it over, I can help. And he gave me those commentaries, bro. The rest were history, man. Started reading, understanding. God gave me the wisdom. I went and did the message. It was well received. And I don't know if it was a couple months or a couple weeks. I was at church and I was on my phone texting. And I hear Tim's. My dad's a deacon. So I'm thinking pastor's talking to my dad. But when I look up from my phone, he's looking at me. I'm like, oh, shoot. Am I getting called out for not paying attention?
Yeah.
He said, come here, Tim's. Come here, coach. Put my phone in my pocket. I come to him. He has the oil. So he's about to get ready to anoint my head. I'm like, okay, what's about to happen here? He says, been training those boys hard, haven't you, coach? I said, yes, I have. And he says, this next season, you're about to win. And your next season, you're about to win. God's getting ready to turn you into a winner. The anointing in my head, bro, and I started sobbing profusely, ugly crying. Didn't care. Ugly crying, on my knees, ugly crying, because I knew he wasn't talking about wrestling. When he was saying, in your next season, you're going to win, he was talking about my life. My life, man. And 2 weeks later, I reaccepted my call in the ministry. I called him and I told him, man, I've been called to preach and I've known for 15 years, bro. And I'm ready to walk into this. And I just knew that there was never going to be a moment where I was going to be a perfect person. That moment, that day of, all right, Chris, you're blameless, you're faultless. Now you can walk in the ministry. That day was never coming. I said, I'm going to walk in the ministry, not because I'm perfect, but because I serve a perfect God. He perfects me through the blood of his son, Jesus Christ.
He doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called.
Yes. And so I said, that day is never coming, but I'm about to walk in this. As flawed, as broken as I am, I'm going to walk in this boldly. I'm going to do this. And I've been in ministry ever since. And when I tell you, man, my life has changed and transformed, I've realized, man, that my value comes from who I am and whose I am. I had a book that was sitting in my Kindle for 4 straight years by Jamie Gilbert and Joshua Metcalf called Burn Your Goals. It's not the whole title, but you guys can definitely Google Burn Your Goals, Joshua Metcalf, Jamie Gilbert, and you will find it. And it talks about changing the mindset of what goals look like. That goals shouldn't be focused on these external variables and factors you have no control over. If you're going to do goals, these things need to be wrapped up into who you are, a personal mission, because who you are is way more important than what you do. Your value is in who you are, because it reflects in what you do. As much as we try to suppress it, who we are comes out in everything that we do. And when I started to accept these ideas and realize, like, man, I don't have to be perfect, but I need to be my best. The book has a principle: do the best that you can with what you have where you're at. Do that every single day. And I started attempting to do that every day. I'm going to be the best I can with what I have where I am, because I can't do better than my best. But what I can do is continue to grow, develop, and my best can elevate.
Yeah.
As I continue to grow and improve, it elevates. I go to a higher level. And putting my faith boldly in God and walking in my purpose, man, has been the best decision. Like, once alcohol was out of the way, life changed dramatically. When I stopped caring about these awards, I was blessed to get a couple. I mean, to be honest with you, I got 20 under 40 and I was still an alcoholic at that time. And so I felt kind of ashamed to even have it.
Yeah.
But once I was sober, I got Northeast District Coach of the Year. Sober. We weren't having state champions. We were having a few state place winners when we've only had a few. But I really feel like my colleagues, people that I'm in the wrestling community with, they see as a staff, it's about who we are. And we're trying to instill that into our kids. So we may not have a decorated resume in the win-loss column, but what we do have are individual coaches who really love and care about kids and are committed to kids above contract obligations and are willing to speak life, empower, encourage, and facilitate the dreams of young men and women.
Let's go.
And that's what we do. And I think people recognize that. And then we won the award. I don't even know if my coach, Willie Gasson, won that. But I was blessed too. But I know it was by the grace of God. I give it all to him because it's not me. It's not me. He hides me behind Calvary's cross. He empowers me to do those things. I was blessed to get Gold Star teacher. And I was blessed to get that, man. And, it was, you know what, man? Be honest with you, bro. Most people don't know this. I was told through an inside source, and I know it's true. I was supposed to get it 7 years ago. But an administrator at the time that I had didn't feel that I was ready for it. So I didn't get it. I'm glad I didn't get it because I was an alcoholic then. And I would have thought that Gold Star added value to my life. And it was until I realized that my value doesn't come from any award. I got the Gold Star and I felt good about it. But I know that if I hadn't gotten it, it didn't make me any less valuable. Because I've gotten it, it doesn't make me any more valuable. It's a testament to the work that we put in with kids and the attempt to inspire and impact lives. But at the end of the day, the reward that I get is being in front of these people all the time, being able to connect. That's the award. Like, I felt like a winner yesterday leaving the school. I felt like a gosh dang winner when I left yesterday, bro. I was almost in tears because I looked over the course of the week and I'm like, man, we made gains and strides in these classrooms this week. We put kids in spaces where we used their voice. I put myself into the corner. I took notes. They conversed and had dialogue about tough concepts. Historically, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. We're relating it to current contemporary issues, and they took off. And it was my advanced students and my general education students, and they're all proving that they can learn and achieve at high levels. Man, I feel like a winner. Yeah. I don't need a Gold Star to feel that. I just need people, because that's the most valuable asset that we have, are the people around us. And so, man, I love doing what I do, man. And coaching, I love doing what I do. I love what the sport gives back to kids. But I would never experience these things had God not removed that burden of alcohol.
And had you not been obedient.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's at the end of the day, what your story tells me is that you were obedient to God.
Yes.
All this time before, you would say, you would curse God. You said, why'd you take this from me? Why'd you do this? But when you were obedient, when you asked him for his help and you were obedient to what you said you were going to do for him, is when he started to bless you.
Absolutely.
And there is something to be said in that truth.
Pastor said I was wrestling with God. He said I should have learned from Jacob.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, if you've been reading your Bible, you would have learned how that was going to turn out. So you've been getting your butt kicked in this wrestling match, trying to wrestle with God. He's like, you can't win. Yeah. So you just need to go ahead and submit. And I was already walking in ministry, but bro, we're works in progress. So like I told you, when I walked in ministry, I was still like, there were challenges I was dealing with, man. And in the 2 years that I've done this, 2 years and some change, I've made tremendous growth and I'm still growing.
Yeah.
But I just remember him telling me, and you're wrestling with God and you can't win. So I submitted, bro. I'm like, all right. It's the one time where I'm allowing myself to get pinned.
Yeah.
Because.
Hey, hands up, man.
Man, hands up.
For him, hands up.
Hands up. And through him, I'm more than a conqueror.
Yeah. You're a winner.
But I had to submit. And I had to be obedient. Absolutely.
Oh, what an inspiring journey. What an inspiring journey. Holy cow. What's your biggest accomplishment since getting sober?
Being a better husband.
Yeah.
A better father. And a better person, I would say, is the biggest accomplishment of being sober. Biggest accomplishment of being sober is I finally get to show people the Christopher Timms that God wants them to see.
Yeah.
And by doing that, he's able to use me in ways that I never thought he would and I couldn't even imagine. And that's been the biggest accomplishment. I'm more patient with my kids. You know, I've gotten healthier. Like I've gotten better everywhere in my life, and I'm a better husband. I'm more in tune with my emotions. Like I'm not embarrassed to have intimacy and vulnerability. Like, I don't care. I don't care what people think.
Yeah.
I don't care, man. I just want to be the best that I can be. Because when I'm at my best, then I can be the best to help others. And that's my mission. That's my mission, to be a positive impact in people's lives and enable them to be their best selves. That is my mission. Teaching, coaching, and even ministry allows me to be able to do God's mission of helping me be a positive impact and enable people to be their best selves.
Speaking of being a positive impact, what's your very favorite part about being a father?
Oh, man. Seeing my children grow, man. Seeing how they develop their own personalities begin to take shape and form. I love seeing now that Layton started preschool, he's already come back more confident. He started talking a lot more, but he's talking a lot more about what he's experienced in school, his friends that he's made, what kind of activities he's doing. He's excited about because he got a big sister, and Everly, man, she's a handful. She's amazing. She's super confident. She can be extremely fiery, but she also, like Layton does, whatever she does, she kind of casts a shadow over him. And so when he got to go to preschool, I'm getting to see Layton form his own identity separate from Everly, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But then also to see Everly support him in that, and Everly also mature as well. She's continuing to be outgoing. She sang a solo a couple weeks ago at church. Man, I cried like a baby.
I bet.
Man, I cried so hard.
I bet.
And she did so well, man. Because she was really singing for God. Like, there was no show. Like, I try to teach Everly and Layton, help them formulate their own relationship with the master.
Yeah.
You can't live off of mommy and daddy's religion, man. You can't live off my relationship with the master. You got to have your own. So now when Everly she decides to pray, like, it's authentic prayers. Like, she's praying for a kid that she met at school. This kid barely speaks English, and Everly's been helping him, like, guide him to classes and helping him out. She didn't have to do that. Yeah. I'm like, man, I constantly tell them, like, it's who you are as a person. And I see that they're doing those things. I'm like, oh, man, they're going to be way better than Katie and me.
Yeah.
And that makes me super proud that my kids are going to go and be impactful in a positive way, that they have these values of wanting to be kind people, spread love and light. And that's the greatest, most rewarding feeling as a father.
Amen.
Just to really see them grow. Man.
In God's light.
In God's light.
Okay. You have me emotional, man, because that is so true. As a father, it's just, yeah. Okay. Got to connect this back to sobriety. What advice would you give the next person who's thinking about getting sober?
Don't be afraid to accept help.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. That's the enemy. That is the enemy. You know, I preached a sermon a little bit back, and I talked about how, you know, in Africa, in Savannah, you know, the wildebeest and the gazelle, they're strength in the herd because the lion is the predator. But you don't ever see a lion attacking a full-on herd of gazelle. You usually see the camera starts to pan. It's one lion or a group of lions and one lone gazelle, antelope, or wildebeest. And what has happened is the lions have these coordinated attacks that separate you from the herd. And you become more vulnerable to the attack when you're by yourself. And usually they'll try to pick who they deem like the weakest or the slowest. And so when we're separated from human connection, from support, from encouragement, community, you're by yourself. You're vulnerable to every attack of the enemy. And he tries to convince you that you can do this by yourself, that you do this on your own. And I did not do it. I said I didn't go to AA, but I would never lie and say I did this by myself. I did not. I had great people in my corner. I had a few, two or three people that I could call to. That guy that I met at Charles's job, he told me I could call him at any time of the night, and he meant it. He said, if you even think about going your own way to get alcohol, you call me on the phone. I don't care what time of night it is. I don't care what kind of type of day it is. Call me, and we can pray together. I'll talk to you. I never had to call him, but there were a few times where I called Katie and I said, Katie, I'm struggling because I want to make this turn and go to the liquor store. Can you pray with me?
Yeah.
And so she would pray with me. But knowing that I had people that I could reach out to, I wouldn't have made it without them.
Yeah.
I would not have made it. So
it's having a spotter, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you lift and you're underneath that bar and you know it's heavy weight, how much more confident are you just knowing that somebody is in there?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's strange how like you get that extra push. And they're not touching the bar. They're just present.
They're just there.
You got to have people.
Yes, people. Absolutely. So that's my biggest advice is be open for help, for guidance. Not like how you said you were and how I was when people tried to help us. We push them away. We get angry, lash out. I don't need help. Nah, man. Like, people love you. They're not saying this to hurt you. They're trying to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. If you could go back, what would you tell sober you on day one of sobriety?
But what I tell sober me on day one of sobriety, it's a journey. It's a journey. Stay committed. Because I didn't realize at that time, I thought sobriety was this destination, bro. Like, there's this, on your phone, Siri will take you to where you need to get to. And once you get there, like just like today, you've arrived, and has a little icon, exclamation that you made it to your destination. On this journey, that's not the case. Because every single day, I'm saying no to alcohol every day. You know what I mean? So I don't look at this thing as I'm there. I'm looking at this as no, every single day I am making a conscious decision to not engage in alcohol. I'm making a conscious decision. I will never get arrogant enough in my thinking to think, oh, I'm good, I have made it. No, this is a journey. As long as I got breath in my lungs, the reality is there's an opportunity to drink still. I have to make a conscious, intentional decision every single day. I am not going back. Most times, I've gotten to a point now that I've been doing it for so long. I don't think about alcohol, hardly ever. But there are times, though, when I'm around it and life still gets tough and presents its storms and challenges. It's a journey.
Yeah.
So I would think if I could go back, I would tell sober self, because then I wouldn't have been as hard on myself starting off. I'd have had more grace with myself. And I think mentally, I might have been in a better place, mental health-wise, along the first couple months of the journey if I wouldn't have been just so fixated on destination, just taking one day.
30 days, 90 days, 100 days, a year, 2 years. Yeah, forget all that.
Yeah, man.
It gets way better.
Yes.
It's going to be worth it.
Yeah, it
sucks right now, but it's going to be so worth it.
Oh, so worth it. So worth it.
Well, you got anything else for us? Any words of wisdom before we depart?
Man, I just want to give God all the honor, all the praise, all the glory, because he's the author and finisher of my life, man. Everything that I am, everything I'm to be, it was made possible through him and his power. I've not done this on my own. Like, when people see Christopher Timms, you go ahead and see me. But my prayer is always that they see thee and not me. That you see the love of Christ reflect through my actions, my inactions, my words, and even my silence. And, man, life is a journey. And you got to commit to the journey and understand that we're all a work in progress. There's never a moment where you have made it. There are moments where you will reach pinnacles and moments of success. But we have to keep going forward. We have to keep progressing. We have to keep pouring into ourselves and pouring life into others as well. Spreading that love, being that inspiration. We're all influencers. Whether we accept that call or not, we are. Somebody's watching us.
Mm-hmm.
somebody's looking at our moves.
You have influence over
And
someone.
we have influence. And I don't think sometimes we understand the power of our influence. We have to live better because people depend on us to live better. There are people who are currently captive who will be set free from your story, from the life that you live. Someone can choose life over death because you are choosing to walk in your purpose, in your mission, unapologetically and authentically. And there's just great fulfillment and power in that. And that's what I want to do. And that's what I encourage everyone to do. I feel that the world, our community, the Cedar Valley, the internationally would be a better place if we just all seek to be on that journey of development and growth.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity, man.
Yeah.
It's been amazing.
It's been awesome. Thank you so much. If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, I want to thank you with all my heart. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps us out. If you have questions about getting sober, parenting, or personal growth, email Nick at domesticdadproject.com with any questions about cleaning up the messes you've made. And if your question is discussion worthy, we'll feature it in an upcoming episode. Don't forget, you can watch any of these videos uncut and unedited, filmed in my studio from our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for Domestic Dad Project. Also, please follow us on Facebook or share this episode on your social media. You can also join our community by grabbing some merch. It means the world to me to know that this podcast is making a difference in someone's life. And if this episode inspired you to get sober or simply become a better version of yourself, you can claim your free 60-minute coaching session by visiting www.domesticdadproject.com. Let's continue supporting each other to break the stigma around dads reaching out for help, to get our lives on track while navigating the obstacles of fatherhood. Until next time, keep cleaning up the mess.